Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Parikshit Luthra. Here are the headlines we are tracking this evening. For the first time in a decade, India's top 4 IT companies report a decline in headcount. TCS, Infosys, Wipro and HCL see an aggregate decline of 62,000 in headcount in FY24. This comes after aggressive hiring by IT companies during the pandemic period. A late sell-off wipes out the gains on Dalal Street after Nifty hit a record high in early trade. Mid-cap index manages to hold its head above water. Insurance regulator is likely to increase the refund or surrender value to policyholders who surrender the policy before maturity. The amount will likely be higher than current value, but lower than what was proposed in December last year. Indigo CEO Peter Elbers says the order for 30 wide-body planes is sizable enough to make an impact in a new space and scale up later. Adds the airline will be able to directly connect Delhi to southern Europe and Patna to Paris. Elbers also claims Indigo is the only airline in the world to induct one plane every week. The Supreme Court slams the Uttarakhand State Licensing Authority for dragging its feet on Patanjali Ayurved. This comes a day after the Uttarakhand officials suspended the manufacturing license for 14 Patanjali products for 3 months. The court also exempts Ramdev from personally appearing for the next hearing in the misleading advertisements case. Food safety authorities in Uttar Pradesh raid McDonald's and Theobroma outlets after orders by a district magistrate. Samples have been taken of food items and sent for testing. India needs to double up and consider incentives for advanced research and development in semiconductors, says Micron India chief Anand Ramamurthy. The company is setting up its plant in Gujarat and will begin manufacturing in the first half of 2025. Israel and Hamas weigh a fresh ceasefire proposal as pressure mounts on both sides to halt fighting. In the United States, pro-Palestine protesters take over Columbia University building. Dozens of students also arrested across Texas, Utah and Virginia. AstraZeneca tells a British court its COVID vaccine can cause a rare side effect which leads to blood clots and low platelet counts, but also adds that causal mechanism is not known as it faces a barrage of class action lawsuits in the UK. AstraZeneca's vaccine was branded as Covishield in India and manufactured by Serum Institute. Scorching summer across India. The Met Department issues a red alert for Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Bihar and Odisha as temperature touches 45 degrees in these states. Says these areas are at risk of heat-related illnesses and heat stroke. Janata Dal Secular suspends outgoing MP and Hassan Lok Sabha candidate Prajwal Revanna over alleged sex tapes case. The party says that he has been suspended till the SIT probe is over. An FIR on grounds of sexual harassment and criminal intimidation has been filed as well. Prajwal has reportedly left the country. It's all in the Pawar family in Battleground, Baramati. Sitting MP Supriya Sule faces brother Ajit Pawar's wife, Sunetra. Baramati is one of the 11 seats in Maharashtra that goes to polls in Phase 3 next Tuesday. Let's start with the stock market action. Sensex and Nifty ended in the red. After a rapid sell-off in late trade, Nifty hit a record high in early trade but lost all the gains in the last hour. Bank stocks also declined along with IT and metal. Mid-cap index managed to end marginally in the green. The Board of Market Regulator SEBI took a slew of decisions today. SEBI approved amendment to allow passive schemes to increase the exposure up to the weightage of the constituents in the underlying index. The cap on the exposure has been set at 35% compared to 25%. Separately, asset management companies will need to have an institutional mechanism for deterrence of potential market abuse. SEBI has amended the rules to ensure better accountability and responsibility. AMCs will also need to have a whistleblower mechanism to foster transparency. For the first time in a decade, India's top 4 IT companies have reported a decline in headcount. TCS, Infosys, Wipro, HCL see an aggregate decline of 62,000 in headcount at the end of the last financial year. Now, this comes after aggressive hiring by IT companies during the pandemic. Reema Tendulkar is here with all the details.
Well, thank you very much for that. Well, the big headline is that headcount at the top 4 IT companies, TCS, Infosys, Wipro and HCL Tech, has declined for the first time in over a decade. Now, CNBC TV18 has compiled the data and it shows in FY24, the net headcount has declined by an aggregate of 62,000. This comes on the back of an 85,000 approximately addition that happened in FY23 and about 2.4 lakh, a whopping 2.4 lakh employees which got added to the top 4 IT companies in FY24. That was the big year when IT companies hired aggressively in the post-pandemic digital boom. In fact, Q4 FY24, that's the March quarter, was the 5th consecutive quarter when the top 4 IT companies have reported an aggregate decline in headcount. And all the companies except HCL Tech, that's the other 3, TCS, Infy, Wipro, reported a net headcount decline in FY24, and the biggest headcount cut was seen in Wipro and Infosys at approximately 25,000 employees for the full year. Now let's go over the reasons why this took place, why headcount has declined on an aggregate for the top 4 IT companies for the first time in over a decade. Well, the first reason is a meaningful slowdown in growth as discretionary spending environment turned adverse due to high interest rates, cautious client consumer sentiment in the mainstay markets of US and Europe. So growth declined from double digits in FY23 to low single digits, with Wipro actually recording a decline in their revenue in FY24. Less growth, less need for employees. Secondly, companies overhired in FY22 due to elevated demand and elevated attrition. As we said, FY22 hiring was a big number of 2.4 lakh employees, which was equal to the cumulative hiring done by these companies over the prior 4 years. The third reason is attrition has come down meaningfully. Now, attrition was running very, very high at more than 20% in FY22. You remember the great resignation which gripped the tech sector during the COVID boom? Well, now attrition has trended back to normal levels of low teens, and therefore companies need to hire less to backfill. And finally, the fourth reason, the growth outlook continues to remain dim. HCL Tech, Infy are just guiding to a low single-digit growth in FY25, and therefore this kind of demand maybe can be serviced by just improving the existing utilization with their employee base by improving the productivity. Remember, the biggest reason to hire is growth, and demand so far hasn't been forthcoming. Back to you.
In global earnings, British banking giant HSBC has beaten street estimates in the first quarter. The bank's revenue rose 3% to $20.8 billion, while net profit fell 2% to $12.6 billion on an annual basis. The company also announced that its chief executive officer, Noel Quinn, will be stepping down from the role after 5 years. HSBC has said that Quinn will continue at the helm until the bank finds a successor. German automaker Volkswagen's profit declined over 20% to nearly $5 billion in the March quarter. This is weak demand for its premium brands drove a drop in sales. High fixed costs also impacted profit. Volkswagen still expects to achieve its 2024 targets, including a 5% rise in sales revenue. Mercedes-Benz and Stellantis also reported weak earnings due to sluggish demand. On to a CNBC TV18 exclusive now. The insurance regulator is likely to increase the refund or surrender value to policyholders who surrender the policy before maturity. Sources say that the amount will likely be higher than current value but lower than what was proposed in December last year. Yash joins us now. Yash, what will these changes mean for the sector?
Well, Parikshit, in March 2024, when the final set of regulations came around surrender value through that official Gazette notification, we all thought that the matter around surrender value has been put to rest. It all started in December when the regulator proposed to increase the surrender value by as much as 2 times. The industry put forth a lot of resistance to that particular proposal, and eventually, as I said, in March 2024, the surrender value was kept at the existing levels itself. That was a relief for life insurance companies, but the latest that you're picking up brings back that particular overhang on these life insurance companies. That's because the insurance regulator chairman met life insurance CEOs very recently, where the whole issue of surrender value was discussed. The chairman also expressed his displeasure over that particular resistance, and what we've been given to understand is that there were also conversations about the regulator considering a proposal under which the special surrender value will be considered. An increase in that special surrender value will be considered. Now, total surrender value is made out of 2 elements, of course, the guaranteed surrender value and the special surrender value. Guaranteed surrender value, as I said, in March 2024 has already been fixed. Now the regulator is talking about increasing the special surrender value, which, as of now is voluntary. It depends from company to company and policy to policy. So the regulator will consider essentially making this special surrender value mandatory, and fixing it at a higher level than what it is currently. Now, if the special surrender value is taken higher, then the total surrender value will also move higher, and that will be negative for all these insurance companies, especially two companies which have higher exposure to non-linked life insurance products, that is HDFC Life and Max Life Insurance.
All right, thank you very much. So important implications there, Yash. Moving on, Indian Oil Corporation's fourth quarter earnings missed expectations. The profit down 40% quarter on quarter. Revenue at 1.97 lakh crore is not only less than estimates, but also less than what it made in the previous quarter. Margin came in at 5.3% versus 7.8% in the third quarter. Infrastructure finance firm REC surged 10% after it posted its highest ever revenue and net profit. Quarterly net profit rose 34% on an annualized basis, while net interest income surged 25%. The firm's profit was a provisional write-back of 700 crore compared to an expense of 56 crore rupees in the previous quarter. Speaking to CNBC TV 18, CMD VK Devangan said that the company will become net zero NPA by the end of the financial year.
Our net NP has come down to about 0.86%, and most of the operating assets which were assets, they are in the process of resolution, and we are quite hopeful that we'll be able to resolve those stressed assets and all will become net zero NPA company by the end of this financial year.
Shifting focus to the aviation sector now, Indigo CEO Peter Elbers said the airline will be able to directly connect Patna to Paris and Delhi to southern Europe with the wide-body A350 and narrow-body A321 XLR planes. Elbers added the orders for 30 wide-body planes is sizable enough to make an impact in a new space and scale up later. He also claimed Indigo is the only airline in the world to induct one plane every week. In the Supreme Court, there has been an important case. The Uttarakhand State Licensing Authority has been pulled up for not taking any action against Patanjali Ayurved. This move has come a day after the Uttarakhand officials suspended the manufacturing license for 14 Patanjali products for 3 months. The court also exempted Baba Ramdev from personally appearing for the next hearing in the misleading advertisements case. Ashmit Kumar joins us with the details. Ashmit, take us through the proceedings and what happens next.
Well, Baba Ramdev and Patanjali Ayurved in focus once again to face the contempt proceedings. Baba Ramdev turned up before the Supreme Court, accompanied by his lawyers Mukul Rohatgi, appearing on his behalf. And importantly, Mukul Rohatgi showed up with a newspaper displaying the advertisement that Patanjali Ayurved had put out, putting out its unconditional apology to the public, acknowledging its mistake and apologizing to the highest court of the country. And this, importantly, has been welcomed by the top court. The Supreme Court judges observed that this is notably different from the earlier round of advertisements, which were inconspicuous, almost classified like. That was the observation that fell from the judges. Now it seems that there is a marked difference. The Supreme Court welcomed it. The Supreme Court also noted that this time around it's been signed not just by Patanjali Ayurved but also by Baba Ramdev, and that seemed to have impressed the Supreme Court, at least for now, enough to grant some interim relief. What is that relief? Well, the relief is that they've granted Baba Ramdev exemption from personal appearance, which effectively means that come the next date of hearing, Baba Ramdev will not have to travel to Delhi to the Supreme Court to appear in person. So that's the interim relief that Baba Ramdev has, but not much relief in sight as far as the state licensing authorities are concerned. They sought to clarify their position. They sought to defend themselves by saying that they finally initiated action. They've suspended the manufacturing license for Patanjali Ayurved. They've initiated criminal proceedings against Baba Ramdev as well as Patanjali Ayurved. But again, not managing to cut much ice with the apex court. The Supreme Court noted, in fact questioned rather, why it took for the Supreme Court to reprimand them for them to spring into action. What caused this delay of years and years, that despite blatant violations, a complete inaction by the state licensing framework, questions being asked, tough questions being asked of the officers in question as to what they were doing, if they even visited the facilities of Patanjali Ayurved in the first place. So all of these questions being posed, the state licensing authorities being asked to put their replies on record. The hearing in this case, we understand, will resume in the second week of May.
More earnings news now. Beverage giant Coca-Cola's first quarter earnings beat street expectations. Net income for the quarter came in at $3.18 billion, while net sales rose 3% to $11.3 billion on an annual basis. The company has also raised its full-year guidance for organic revenue. And staying with global earnings, McDonald's first quarter earnings has missed street estimates. This was largely attributed to boycotts over the conflict in Gaza, which weighed on its Middle East sales. The burger chain's global sales declined for the fourth straight quarter after higher prices drove away low-income customers. Back home, shares of Mahindra & Mahindra hit a 52-week high after the launch of its latest sports utility vehicle, XUV 3XO. This SUV will be available in 9 variants with a starting price of 7.5 lakh rupees. Bookings for the 3XO will open in mid-May, with deliveries commencing from the 26th of May. The new launch by Mahindra is expected to rival Tata Nexon's SUV. Shifting focus to the semiconductor segment now. India needs to double up and consider incentives for advanced research and development in semiconductors. That's the word coming in from Micron India chief Anand Ramamurthy. Also, he told me that the company is setting up its plant in Gujarat and will begin manufacturing in the first half of 2025.
Our construction in the Sanand Gujarat factory is going on in full steam, and we expect the early part of production to start in the first half of next year, which is still a wonderful timeline given that we announced the factory ambitions in July of last year. So we're pretty much on track and everything is on a committed basis. One thing that we, the industry bodies and our peers have been talking to the government is to kind of double up or refocus on the need for advanced R&D. The choice of the next materials used in the transistor design, the materials, the process technology, packaging, advanced packaging in particular is proving to be a very important facet.
Pharma giant AstraZeneca has told a British court that its COVID vaccine can cause a rare side effect which can lead to blood clots and low platelet count. The company is currently facing a barrage of class action lawsuits in the UK. AstraZeneca vaccine was branded as Covishield in India and manufactured by the Serum Institute. Ekta Batra joins us now with all the details. Ekta, what has the company said?
British-Swedish pharma company AstraZeneca has admitted in court documents that its COVID-19 vaccine developed along with the University of Oxford can cause a rare side effect, TTS or thrombosis, with thrombocytopenia syndrome. AstraZeneca told the court, and I quote, "It is admitted that the AstraZeneca vaccine can, in very rare cases, cause TTS. The causal mechanism is not known." End of quote. TTS is a very rare syndrome characterized by blood clots and low platelet counts. The admission is a part of a lawsuit filed in the UK where Jamie Scott, a father of 2, alleged that AstraZeneca's vaccine, which he took in April 2021, resulted in him developing a blood clot and bleed in the brain, leaving him with severe brain impairment. The vaccine has been shrouded with controversy on possible side effects in the past few years. For example, in March 2021, more than a dozen European countries stopped using AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine over fears of it being linked to blood clots. Currently, there are 51 cases filed against AstraZeneca in the UK on allegations of the side effects of the vaccine. It is important to note that in June 2022, the World Health Organization said, and I quote, "A very rare adverse event called thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome, TTS, involving unusual and severe blood clotting events associated with low platelet counts has been reported after vaccination with this vaccine, AstraZeneca. In countries with ongoing SARS-CoV-2 transmission, the benefit of vaccination in protecting against COVID-19 far outweigh the risks." End of quote. When it comes to India, vaccine manufacturer Serum Institute of India produced AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine Covishield. Remember, Covishield and Bharat Biotech's Covaxin were the 2 most commonly used COVID-19 vaccines in the country. Overwhelming majority of the population received Covishield as compared to Covaxin.
And coming up on India Business Hour, it's all in the Pawar family in Battleground Baramati. Sitting MP Supriya Sule faces brother Ajit Pawar's wife Sunetra. A special report when we return. You're watching India Business Hour. Member of Parliament from Karnataka's Hassan and grandson of former Prime Minister H.D. Devegowda has been suspended from Janata Dal Secular after pressure mounted over alleged sex tapes case. The party has also issued a show-cause notice to him. Prajwal is facing allegations of sexual abuse from several women. He's also accused of filming explicit videos. Prajwal's father, H.D. Revanna, is also an accused in the matter.
Even though suspicion, we have recommended for the suspension of Prajwal Revanna from the party. We have recommended in the core committee. Devegowda ji already taken our core committee's decision. He accepted. He suspended Prajwal Revanna from the party. On the basis of FIR, I am telling you, they worked in his house in 2012. On that basis, he told this issue is old one. They left the Revanna's house 5 years back. After 5 years, why this issue now? Some people, they wanted to raise it.
Staying with election news, Shiv Sena, headed by Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde, has fielded Baikula MLA Yamini Jadhav as the NDA candidate from Mumbai South. Jadhav will contest against sitting MP Arvind Sawant, who has been fielded by the Shiv Sena faction led by former Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray. Voters in Maharashtra's Baramati, yes, focusing on Baramati now, they will have to pick between the two factions of the NCP. Sitting MP and daughter of Sharad Pawar, Supriya Sule, is up against Ajit Pawar, her cousin, and Ajit Pawar's wife, Sunetra. Is this indicative of a split in the family or a split in the party? Vinaya Deshpande gets us an analysis from Ground Zero Baramati.
We are on Ground Zero, battlefield Baramati, which is the most intense battle and the most watched battle in Maharashtra.
This is the Pawar bastion where the Bahu has been pitted against the Beti, who is a 3-term MP. If the vertical split in the Nationalist Congress party wasn't dramatic enough, the split in the Pawar family has intensified this political saga.
This is a family, I don't say the seat is a Kajakova. We have a big family. We have 7 brothers. Now surviving few, but 7 brothers, 4 sisters.
While the world sees it as a battle between Ajit Pawar's wife Sunetra and Sharad Pawar's daughter Supriya Sule, the family itself refuses to do so.
I mean, they are such a large party. Are you trying to tell me they couldn't find a candidate from Kashmir to Kanyakumari to fight against me? That they had to break into our family and make a lady fight against me?
ऐसा कुछ फर्क नज़र आता है कि जिसके चलते आपको लगता है कि मेरी जो प्रतिस्पर्धी हैं उनके खिलाफ अगर मुझे लड़ना हो तो ये दिक्कत वाली या मुश्किल या आसान लड़ाई है।
मुश्किल तो बिल्कुल नहीं है, क्योंकि आपको पता होगा कि लोगों ने ही मेरी उम्मीदवारी की मांग की।
The Baramati Lok Sabha constituency consists of 6 Vidhan Sabha constituencies. Now, if you look at the division of these constituencies, 2 Vidhan Sabha constituencies belong to the Congress, while the rest of the 4 belong to the Mahayuti. Now, the Mahayuti considers it as plain math, and that is why they think that they would get lead from the 4 Vidhan Sabha constituencies which are already with them, while Supriya Sule, Sharad Pawar and the Mahavikas Aghadi thinks that it is the emotional factor that will play a critical role in these elections, and that is why people will vote for Sharad Pawar over Ajit Pawar for the Lok Sabha elections.
We will be watching out the battle for Baramati on the 7th of May. Rohit Sharma will be leading India at the upcoming T20 World Cup next month. That's the big story from the world of cricket. Hardik Pandya has been named his deputy, while Rishabh Pant and Sanju Samson have been picked up as wicketkeepers. The tournament will also see Yuzvendra Chahal making a comeback, with Shubman Gill and Rinku Singh named in reserves. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you for watching. News continues right here on CNBC TV 18.